Tua not going to start for the Dolphins. Who will replace him? And a full slate of games here in Week 16. We'll break them all down. The Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital Live starts right now.
Let's go! It's time for the talk to you. 'Cause when it comes to sport, it's always gonna do. And Boy Green is always on the scene. And we're gonna always bring it to you live streaming. So get ready, Get ready, 'cause here they come.
All right, good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome aboard as we're creeping closer and closer to the Christmas holiday. We're a week from Christmas Eve, a week and a day from Christmas Day. So I don't know when you celebrate, when you open your gifts. Is it on Christmas Eve like my family? Or do you wait, put them under the tree and Santa comes down the chimney, hop, 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 reindeers on the roof kind of thing? I'm not sure what your thing is. Or perhaps your Hanukkah and you're already giving and receiving gifts, because I know that goes on. Or Kwanzaa or whatever else you celebrate. So I don't mean to disinclude anybody, but my family tradition obviously is in the spirit of Christmas. All right, welcome aboard. The Manchild here along with Boy Green, Paul Esden Jr. Good morning, Paul. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Apparently, the Dolphins are disincluding Tua, it sounds like. So I don't know what's the proper...
Doesn't sound like there's a gift under his tree, but there is a gift under the tree of one Quinn Ewers, and we'll get into that choice that they made. Didn't take your old jet there. We'll have to get into that discussion. And my Giants still searching for a kicker as well. I wonder if Dalton Wasserman has anything to say about that. Well, let's find out as we bring him in. He's our NFL insider. Today's broadcast brought to you by the way, by our friends at Play It Again Sports in Syracuse. Let's welcome in from PFF, Dalton Wasserman. What's up, Dalton? Happy Wednesday to you, my friend.
Happy Wednesday, guys. How we feeling?
Feeling good, man. I'm getting in the spirit. I'm going to be down in New York City in a couple of days. I'm going to see the tree. I'm going to see Jerry Seinfeld live at the Beacon Theater. I got a whole bunch of plans, Dalton. I'm ready to rock and roll, man. The Christmas season is here.
Wow, that's good living right there. I've never seen Jerry. That should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, me either. I have not. I've only seen his stuff on Instagram where they have clips from his comedy special. So good luck, Lurch. We expect a full report when you get back.
I will have a full report. I'll probably sneak in some video or do something illegal, get myself in some kind of trouble.
There you go.
Anyway, always for the podcast, always willing to get myself in trouble. Well, you see the headline right there, Dalton. We'll start with it. Mike McDaniel, I mean, at one point he was on the hot seat, but now making bold moves as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, benching his buddy Tua Tagovailoa. Tua out, and Zach Wilson is number 2. But now we'll just skip over that and go get ourselves the rookie Quinn Ewers, who people might know from Texas fame. So let's talk about what's going on with the Dolphins, who I think have been mathematically eliminated after that loss this past week. So let's talk about what they're doing here, and what do you make of it, Dalton?
Yeah, organizationally, it feels like they've been moving towards a rebuild really since the offseason, right? When they traded away Jalen Ramsey, they traded away Jonnu Smith, and it seemed like they were trying to, restart the fixing of their salary cap, not even in preparation for next year, because they're really kind of loaded up. And this is going to create, if they were to cut to a one, whether it's post June 1 or not, that's going to be $99 million in dead money, either next year or over the course of the next 2 years. So I think now they've embraced the fact that they're going to have to fully rebuild, right? They're going to be hiring a new general manager in the offseason. They're probably going to have a new quarterback, I would assume, next offseason. You're not going to bring Tua, or next season, I should say, you're not going to bring Tua back after this and benching him for, now it's going to be Quinn Ewers. You mentioned it, the rookie out of Texas. This really just marks where the Dolphins are at as an organization. And I think when we start talking about them getting back into some sort of playoff contention, that's going to be 2027 and beyond. It is not going to be next year.
Let's do a follow-up here. I was just informed that if the Dolphins were to cut Tua this offseason, they would incur a $99 million dead cap hit. That would be the largest dead cap hit in NFL history if they were to do this. And benching him feels like the first step. We're getting all in the same spirit. Put one foot in front of the other by benching him. That sounds like we're heading in that direction. Yes, here, Dalton?
I would say almost certainly the decision is just whether they're going to incur that entire $99 million next year, or I believe they could do about 2/3 of it next year and then another third of it in 2027. If they do a post June 1 cut, you can designate a couple of guys even before that point. And they're going to make this decision by the time, I believe, the third day of the new league year comes around. So yeah, no, I mean, it's as far as their quarterback situation next year, I don't know if they would just roll with Ewers or probably bring in a veteran to compete and just kind of be a stopgap for a year. But definitely this has major ramifications, but I think the big thing for Tua at this point is we've seen it. We know what we're getting out of him, right? Obviously, when the supporting cast was elite with Tyreek Hill in his prime and healthy and Jalen Waddle playing the way he can play, he was solid. But this year, it's just been proven. Look, he's leading the league in interceptions. He doesn't have the arm strength or the tools to overcome deficiencies in that passing game. Ever since Tyreek Hill got hurt, they haven't been able to get vertical in the offense. It just seems like we know what Tua is, right? And it feels like almost appropriate that the final nail in the coffin was another cold weather game against Pittsburgh that the Dolphins couldn't win. They just can't take this quarterback into harsh conditions and win ball games and throw the football.
Dalton, I want to move forward and talk about this week, but before we do, there are some major storylines from this past weekend that I can't ignore. One of the big ones, obviously, injuries. We saw two key players, Patrick Mahomes and Micah Parsons, go down. They're done for the season. I want to talk about those impacts. And then Devontae Adams trying to get in the lineup, or at least that's the way the Rams are framing it, with what looks like a re-aggravated hamstring. So let's talk about those three big injuries and how they impact the rest of this season and, frankly, their teams going forward.
Yeah, to be Mahomes and the Chiefs being eliminated from the playoffs and then him suffering that knee injury that ends his season, that was the story of the NFL this past year. It's a seismic just power shift now in the AFC, especially where they're going to miss the postseason. We're going to get somebody new in the Super Bowl that we haven't seen in 4 years, somebody else other than the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs really need to take a step back this offseason and decide how they want to build this football team, right? They've got some older pieces like a Travis Kelce. We'll see, what his situation is moving forward. But even then, they have to find long-term pieces on the offensive line, at running back, at wide receiver. They got to figure out how they want to build this offense. Now, they've come to these key moments before, and they've come through better on the other side of all of them, right? Think about the offensive line rebuild after losing the Super Bowl to the Bucs and Tyreek Hill getting traded, things like that. But they can really they need to take a step back this offseason and decide how they want to build it. The Parsons injury for Green Bay, that's earth-shattering, man. I mean, he was their pass rush. And without him on the field, their pass rush is not very good. It wasn't very good last year. It's the whole reason they traded for him. And in this league, when you're in the playoffs going against quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford, like Jalen Hurts, like Sam Darnold, these guys are going to face in the NFC playoff picture. You have to be able to get to the quarterback. And that's really, other than Jordan Love, that's the next most crucial injury they possibly could have suffered. So I really worry about the Packers defense here. And then the third one, like you mentioned, Adams, I know they're trying to get him to play. This is the Rams' biggest game of the season against Seattle, could decide a division title. But to me, they also need to be very careful about re-aggravating this, because Adams is such an important part of their offense, winning in one-on-one situations, winning in the red zone. So three very important injuries. Two of them, obviously, I think create a big shift in the power structure in both sides of the league.
All right, let's just go back to Tua just for a second. Shout out to, by the way, Devin, DNY for life, member for 17 months on the Boy Green channel. He's a Jets fan. He was saying, I was hoping the Dolphins would have extended Tua again instead of going the other way. So, Devin, appreciate that. But speaking of Tua, it looks like two quarterbacks are going to become available this offseason in the veteran market. So it seems like we're heading that direction with Tua. Kyler Murray seems to be the other one for the Cardinals. They officially said that he's not coming back to these final games, and they have to make a decision by the 5th day of the new league year, which incur $20 million. And it may be a game of chicken here between the Cardinals and other teams in the league that may be interested in a trade and force the Cardinals to cut him. So let's assume both teams, the Cardinals and the Dolphins, cut Kyler and Tua. What would be the attractiveness level of either of these guys to the rest of the league? Because, as always, quarterbacks are scarce, so they're going to need somebody. Like, for instance, I know this isn't just a Jet show, but the Jets are going to be looking for a veteran quarterback here. Would they have interest? And I'm sure there's other teams on the list that would be as well. Are either of them attractive in any way to you?
They're attractive in the sense that they have starting experience and they have produced in the past, right? Murray, obviously, with his athletic ability, and prior to this season, he was really a solid vertical passer, but that's kind of gone away over the last year and a half. And Tua, again, is a guy who is generally accurate from clean pockets. If you have a good offensive line and a good run game you can support him with, he's got starting experience. And if nothing else, that's valuable, right? It's the same reason the Colts brought in Daniel Jones earlier this year, and he had a really good start to his season before getting hurt. Somebody's going to sign both of these guys, right? And I think teams of interest, you mentioned the Jets are one of them. The Dolphins could be in play for Kyler Murray just to try to hold them over for next season, right? And then the two better teams that I think about are the Indianapolis Colts and the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? We're expecting Aaron Rodgers to retire. One of those guys could go in and play a similar brand of football while they build up the rest of the offense through the draft. And the Colts, look, I mean, it's tough to figure out where they're at as a franchise. If Daniel Jones obviously is coming off a torn Achilles, I don't know that they're going to keep him. I don't believe their starting quarterback is going to be Phillip Rivers next year, right? But if I was taking a guess with the Colts, it's either going to be Anthony Richardson, who I can't imagine they have a ton of faith in, or it would be one of these two players. I actually think Tua could act, in the same way that I thought Daniel Jones could somewhat succeed in that offense. I think Tua might be a decent fit in Indianapolis.
Dalton, you just brought up old man Rivers. So let's talk about Phillip Rivers because, there were a lot of chuckling, there were a lot of laughs, there were a lot of comedy show, night hosting fun things about, what's this guy, 5 years, can't do a thing, right? And everyone, then they're going to start him? What? How are they going to start him? Why aren't they starting the backup kid? He knows that, blah, blah, blah. Rivers went out there and showed himself pretty well. I know he didn't throw the ball down the field. Not that I really expected that. All right. He managed the game very well. And frankly, they were in position to win that game. But their defense gets a stop. They win, which is all they are trying to do right now is find their way into the playoffs. Give me your thoughts about how Rivers played and what we should expect from him the last 3 weeks, because he did take hits and he seemed fine.
I mean, when you look at what Rivers brings to a team, it's something that coaches, especially offensive coaches, value so much. And that's just the ability to operate the huddle, the ability to operate at the line of scrimmage. And Phillip Rivers is one of the best to ever do it, right? He did it for so many years at an elite, potentially Hall of Fame level. We'll have to wait a little longer on that part of it now. But, you look at just the way that he operates the offense and the confidence that he sees defenses with and reacts and changes plays, audibles at the line of scrimmage, things like that. That's the value that he brings. So you're right. He's not going to throw it vertically down the field. He only completed 2 passes of more than 10 air yards in that game, and those led to 2 of their scoring drives. But his ability just to operate an offense and get them into the right play is something Shane Steichen found really valuable, and he's going to try to find other ways around it to create more explosive plays. But it certainly was not as bad a showing as he obviously could have brought out there. But mentally, he's just one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and that's really the benefit that he brings even at 44 years old.
Again, make sure you guys like the video and hit subscribe here on YouTube. We're streaming live on the MC Show digital YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, and at BoyGreen25 on Twitter. So make sure you show your love. And again, Dalton Wasserman here of Pro Football Focus. My son's in the ethos over here. Dalton, can you give us a quick plug for everything you guys are cooking up at Pro Football Focus right now?
Absolutely. Right now, PFF.com, you get a PFF Plus subscription for 30% off with the promo code HOLIDAY30. And then on YouTube, the PFF NFL show, myself and Trevor Sikkema, as always, previewing and reviewing every single game. And we've got our college football playoff content on the PFF College Football show on YouTube as well. We previewed, I should say, all 4 of these games just yesterday. So if you're a fan of any of those teams or just a fan of college football in general, check that out too.
And speaking of college, real quick, let's work it in. Jeremiah Love, who I got to see in person, so amazing. And also the cutout at the Notre Dame shop, they have a Jeremiah Love thing where he puts up half a heart and you can put up the other half a heart. So that was very touching for me to do. Unfortunately, we won't get to see him in the college football playoff, which I think is a damn shame for college football fans not to see him. But now he has entered his name into the draft. I'm not surprised. Dane Brugler called him one of the top 5 prospects in this class, regardless of position. Where does he go, Dalton? I know the draft order isn't finalized, but where does he go? Is he a top 5 pick? Is he a top 10 pick because of positional value? Is he just going to be one of those guys that falls in the draft and someone's going to get very lucky to get a super talented player and a high character guy fall into their lap?
I think he's probably pretty close to surefire to go in the top 15 for a couple of reasons. One, in general, this is not the deepest draft class, and it doesn't have a ton of high-end talent. You're going to see probably, if they both come out into the draft, you're going to see a couple of quarterbacks, Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore, taken. There's some good defensive players, but there's really a dearth of offensive playmakers in this draft, and Jeremiah Love might be the best one of all of them. So, depending on how teams feel about where they value running backs, could it be a situation like Ashton Jinty last year where he goes up to 6 overall? But I think he's most likely going to go in the top 15 for a team that needs that home run hitter at running back. The other thing, too, is that he is far and away the best running back prospect in this class. The depth of running backs was so much better in last year's class, where this one, it's Jeremiah Love, and there is a sizable gap. I'm not sure that we see another running back taken in the first 2 rounds of this year's class.
All right, fair enough. Let's move forward, Dalton, talk about some of the games this week. We have a terrific slate. Again, these games are getting more and more meaningful as we decide playoff positioning, who's in and who's out. I mean, man, I'm wondering what's going on with the Detroit Lions after that loss to the Rams this past weekend. But let's pluck a couple of the good ones. We're going to get Saturday football this weekend, so let's start on Saturday. Green Bay, Washington, Monsters of the Midway at home in Chicago for this titanic battle. Obviously, we know the Micah Parsons injuries. We've already talked about it. So how much does that change this game? And do you like the Bears, who currently are in the driver's seat and could really put it away this week if they can get the win against Green Bay?
This is going to be an awesome football game from so many different dimensions, right? Can the Bears get the run game going a little more consistently and a little more explosive? They did not have a single explosive run that's 10 or more yards in that first game against Green Bay. So Green Bay's run defense really showed up. That's big against them. Can Caleb Williams come through in a moment where if the Bears win this game, they suddenly get a really good track at winning this division, right? I mean, they haven't done that, obviously, in a while, I believe, since 2018. That would be a big marker for him in his career. And then on the Packers side, like you mentioned, Micah Parsons being out, there's some other injuries that loom over them possibly as well. Zach Tom, the right tackle, Christian Watson, if he's out for this game, I think that's a huge problem for the Packers offense. And then the coaching battle between these two staffs, Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen and his staff, and then Matt LaFleur and obviously Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator, did such a great job in the first game. There's so many dimensions to this game, but it really is a true coin flip with this rivalry in that stadium, and for it to be played on a Saturday night, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Hey, you mentioned Hafley there, so let me jump into the deep end of the pond. I did a little video earlier on the week on coaches that the Giants are highly interested in. Diana Rossini put out a piece, obviously, about that and named 5 guys that she thinks the Giants are very, very high on. One of them was Jeff Hafley. So what can you tell us about Jeff Hafley? I mean, I know him a little bit from BC in the college ranks, but I'm curious about him. He's 46 years old. There seems to be some pedigree there. What kind of head coach do you think he would be?
Hard-nosed Northeast defensive guy, like you mentioned, and I think that's really where he builds his brand, is being a physical team on defense first and foremost. And even when he was the head coach at Boston College, really did bring that to both sides of the ball, right? That's what he wants to do, is be the more physical team, be the more aggressive team. And defensively, man, there aren't many minds in the game that are better right now than him. He's done a great job of developing a lot of young players on that Packers defense. If the Giants were to take him, they would certainly need that as well, especially in their back seven. But Jeff Hafley, I think, is a really good leader of men and a really good defensive coach.
I think PE3 might have a question here. That's Paul Esden III. You see him sitting right there in my partner's lap. What's his question? I saw him whisper in your ear. He's only speaking a few words, but obviously he must be speaking football, Boy Green. What's his question?
He was talking about the clinching playoff scenarios coming up in Week 16. I thought it was a very insightful question, Paul. Very insightful indeed. There's a lot of clinching scenarios, as I have here from the NFL. They send out this little press release, statistical bunch of things that can happen. The Broncos can clinch the AFC West divisional title. Bills have a chance to clinch a playoff berth. Patriots as well. Jaguars, Chargers are among the teams in the AFC that can clinch on that side. I'll spin that into the question, Polly, and here, go see your mother, for Pete's sake. Get out of here.
He would be a good E-Trade baby. Ever see the E-Trade baby?
I did. A good sponsorship opportunity.
PE3, his lips moving and talking about, all kinds of E-Trade stuff. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I will tell you, though, the funniest thing that I've seen in a recent commercial is it was a graduation, and then all the kids are coming up, and then it's something like a Taco Bell Best Buy Esden graduated, and they sold the name rights to their son for money. They're like, you know what you see on the side of stadiums? We do that for children. I'm like, oh, all right, good money opportunity there. But no, I'll change that very insightful comment for my son, who just turned 1 in November, to this. Who's it more important to? Because, of course, in this new NFL age world, only the number 1 seed gets a bye. But the most important thing is home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And it's up in the air between, in the AFC, we'll start there, between Denver and New England. Who do you think it's more important to, that the playoffs run through Mile High Country, or that it runs through Foxborough, which it has done many times over the last 20 years?
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to say New England. I think Denver and their trench play, I think you could argue when you look at both the offensive and defensive lines, you could argue that I think they're easily the best team in the AFC. You could argue they're the best team in the NFL. I think that would travel, and I think Sean Payton and his Super Bowl caliber experience would travel pretty well. I think New England, with kind of that young football team that they have with Drake May as their quarterback and just everything being so new there, I think it would help them a lot to be in Foxborough throughout the duration of that run. Not that they couldn't go out on the road and win games, but I think it would feel that extra bit of energy, right? Even the other day, you know what, they blew that big lead to Buffalo and all of that, but you could feel the playoff atmosphere in that building and what a great football game that was and the way the offense was playing. So I think it would be more important for New England. I know they don't have the inside track on that right now, but if they got it, they get a lot more dangerous.
All right, let me do copy and paste, jump over to the NFC. It's funny that it's seemingly all coming from the same division. Rams, Seahawks, 49ers all have intriguing paths to the number 1 seed. Again, who is it most important to? Let me rephrase the question. Who is it more important to of those 3? And if you have another one that's in the race, feel free to throw them into the mix. But who is it more important to potentially get the playoffs running through their own building, which could potentially run all the way through the NFC Championship game?
I think it's most important to Seattle. I have faith in the Rams that they can go on the road and win football games. To be honest with you, their defense will be a question at some point, but I have faith in Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers that they can find their way into and winning football games on the road, and they've been doing a great job of just finding a way to win games all year. I think Seattle would really need the 12th man up there in that building. We'll see about that tomorrow night against the Rams, how that helps them, but they need their defense to be playing at their highest level in the postseason. I think they can do a better job of that at home, and I think they just need Sam Darnold to be a little bit more comfortable, right? We've seen over the last month or so, he hasn't been quite as comfortable. I think of those 3 teams, it would be the most important to Seattle.
Talking to our NFL squeeze. He's our NFL insider from PFF, and his name is Dalton Wasserman. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Play It Again Sports. By the way, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. I see it popping up there on the bottom every so often here on our little screen, and become one of our growing community of subscribers. We're plunging our way towards 500 subscribers. We're about to give away an autographed Hanson Brothers from the movie Slapshot autographed photo. I'll show that to you after the break, Dalton. You can take a look at that pretty cool photo that we have, a little old-time hockey being thrown at our viewers here. But let's just take 30 seconds, learn a little bit more about our friends from Play It Again. We'll be right back. When you don't want to pay full price for sporting goods, and who does, then there's only one place to go in Syracuse. Play It Again Sports. With both new and gently used gear, Play It Again has prices way less than regular retail stores. Another unique aspect of this awesome sporting goods store is that they will give you money for that quality sports gear collecting dust in your basement, attic, or garage. No appointment necessary, just bring it into the store. Play It Again Sports in the DeWitt Town Center on Erie Boulevard, right next to Crunch Fitness. Don't spend more, play it again. PlayItAgainSportsSyracuse.com. All right, we are back. Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital. And hit that like button if you like what you're hearing as we're breaking down Week 16 with our NFL insider Dalton Wasserman from PFF. Another game I want to talk to you about, Dalton, is Denver and Jacksonville. This one up in the Mile High City. The Jacksonville Jaguars have been hitting their stride a little bit, particularly Trevor Lawrence. He looks like a different quarterback here the last few games. Talk about Jacksonville's journey, and is it going to stop here in Denver with that vaunted defense as you were just talking about a couple minutes ago?
This might be the best game in the entire NFL this week. And you mentioned it on the Jacksonville side. All of a sudden, Trevor Lawrence is red hot. Look, all year they've played good defense. All year they've been able to run the football. They've had to figure some things out at receiver, bringing in Jacoby Myers, getting Brian Thomas healthy, get Brenton Strange healthy at tight end. But the last 2 or 3 weeks, Trevor Lawrence looks as confident, as aggressive as we've ever seen him in the NFL. And when he's attacking downfield the way that he is right now with the accuracy that he's doing it with, they're an extremely dangerous and a very balanced football football team. I think he's really the X factor in how far they want to go in this postseason. It looks like they're going to make it. They might win that division, but they're going to go as far as Lawrence takes them. There's some constants on their team with the run game and the defense, but the vertical passing game coming along, that was really the one thing missing early in the season. If that's here to stay, they're an extremely dangerous football team. They definitely have a shot to win this game in Denver. All
right, let's go to that Rams-Seahawks game. It's the rematch because we saw the first one. In the first one, the Rams won, but Sam Darnold imploded. He threw 4 picks and they just barely lost our last-second field goal. Should that be inspiring in some way to the Seahawks, saying, "Man, we were that close. If we just didn't have Sam Darnold implode, we would have won"? Or is every game its own beast, and that means absolutely nothing as it pertains to the second game?
It doesn't mean nothing, but there's also a counterpoint that they played, I would argue, the best defensive game that any team played against the Rams all season. And Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford are going to have their adjustments ready to go, whether or not they have Devontae Adams, because there's so many layers to this offense, and there's such a physical offense that can run the football too. So on one side, you played a great defensive game. On the other side, Sam Darnold played his worst game of the year. I think those things kind of balance out. So what I think you're going to get in this game is just both sides who can make the adjustments. Can the Rams make the adjustments offensively after really the last 3 quarters of that game? They didn't do a whole lot. And for Seattle, can they find somebody other than Jackson Smith and Jigba who can create big plays for them? The run game has been very of late. The other receivers and all consistent, and Sam Darnold has cooled off a game. It's really going to be a game of adjustments and who learned from that matchup. But I think the Seahawks have to feel good about their chances, especially on defense. It's just a matter of if Darnold can get things firing on all cylinders again.
Talking with Dalton Wasserman, PFF. We're breaking down NFL as we do every single Wednesday, our live Wednesday show. I mentioned, and you see it right there on the screen, we're 5 subscribers away from another free giveaway. And that free giveaway, you'll like this, Dalton. You'll like this if you're an old schooler. All right. How about this? A Hanson Brothers autographed photo. I got this years ago when I was working at the radio station. All 3 Hanson Brothers signatures on there. There's a little insignia to the radio station that says, "Old Time Hockey, love the Hanson Brothers." Very, very cool. When we get to 425, that's in 5 subscribers. One of those people is going to get this beautiful little ditty for the Christmas holidays. So a nice little Christmas gift. Frame it, put it on your wall. It's just been sitting in a bin in my house, very well protected, but I don't have it up on a wall. Someone should put that up on a wall, especially somebody who loves the sport of hockey or who loves movie memorabilia, because that's kind of a priceless movie memorabilia. People that don't know this, part of the movie Slapshot with Paul Newman way back when, for those of you that don't know what it is, go look it up. Very, very interesting movie. Was filmed right here in Syracuse, the building that still stands and where our beloved Syracuse Crunch play, our AHL affiliate, the War Memorial, still standing. It's gone through a lot of renovations over the years, but that's where some of the hockey scenes were shot, at the War Memorial. So that's the connection between the Hanson Brothers and Central New York. So cool little movie memorabilia piece here, just for being a subscriber.
Yeah, and a quick reminder that if you subscribe in the next 5, you are eligible for that giveaway, but also eligible for every free giveaway we continue to do on this channel. We have plenty more to come, including this beautiful, I'll throw it up here on the screen real quick, since we're doing giveaway shout-outs here around the holiday season. The 1972 New York Jets official yearbook cover, Joe Namath, John Riggins, a couple of Hall of Famers, baby. This is for one of our first 450 subscribers. There's still a bunch of slots left.
Look at that. There's only a buck, Dalton. It was only $1. Look at the dollar on it. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. A little more expensive now.
$1 for that program back in the day when you bought it real.
Look at John Riggins in the Jets jersey.
Yeah, how about that, man? Look at Riggo.
People forget Riggins started with the Jets. It's a true story. So, folks, again, if you want a piece of that action, just be one of our first 450 subscribers, which, again, there's another 25 slots available for that one as well. So take full advantage.
All right, so next let's talk Detroit-Pittsburgh. The Lions back at home and desperately needing a win now. They have been banged up. They have been nicked up. But if they want to make it to the finish line and get in the playoffs, they got to win some games. And Pittsburgh, obviously, with that win last week, very, very much in control. They certainly don't want to lose control at this point, but they'll have to do it in a very tough place on the road. Let's talk about that game.
Yeah, for sure. This game's going to be about which defense shows up, right? The Lions defense really struggling in the secondary with all the injuries they have. And is Aaron Rodgers going to be able to attack them downfield, right? He's been so conservative this year, relying on those guys to make plays after the catch, right? DK Metcalf and the tight ends and everybody to make those plays after the catch. And then Pittsburgh's defense, can they travel on the road and get it done against an offense as explosive as this, right? The Lions really don't have any offensive issues. The run game has been mostly great this season. And Jared Goff's actually been playing really good football despite the Lions being kind of inconsistent with the wins and losses lately. So I think it's going to be a big factor, especially but whichever secondary shows up to me and prevents those big plays on the back end. I think those two receivers for Detroit, St. Brown and Jamison Williams, they are as good as anybody in football, as any pair in football, especially with as hot as Jared Goff is throwing the ball. So to me, whichever defense can show up, but I like the Lions in their home building there. I think they're going to get it done.
Now, the Chiefs have been eliminated from the playoffs, so we talked about the Patrick Mahomes injury, what that means. But the Chiefs actually will play a major part in how the top 5 of the 2026 NFL draft is in order. They play the Titans. They still play the Raiders. What kind of Chiefs team are you expecting with Gardner Minshew taking over at quarterback? Are they just going to roll over and anyone could beat them? Or are they still going to be a very tough outfit because Andy Reid's still coaching that bunch?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to roll over. This team's got a lot of pride, and Gardner Minshew, he's a competitor, man. He's going to go out there and he's going to play these 3 games like it really, really matters, right? So, I think for him, he's going to compete, and Andy Reid is certainly not one to roll. And look, I think even in their current state, they're probably still better than Tennessee and Las Vegas, right? So I would still pick them to win both of those games. But you do wonder about kind of the emotional letdown of, we've really never seen this version of this Kansas City Chiefs team playing games that don't mean anything, right? We've never seen this. So it could be a matter of, okay, is there going to be a letdown? Are they going to quit on it and all? I don't think so. I don't think Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo and those guys are going to let them do that. But it's an ugly picture right now offensively that they have there. And Gardner Minshew is going to have to figure out how to operate it within the next 3 weeks.
Right. And another one we got to chat about, Dalton, Tampa Bay and Carolina. I mean, this one in Carolina. The Panthers have made things interesting this season. I really kind of like this Carolina squad. Would love to see them maybe upset the apple cart here. Let's talk about it.
Well, I want to like this Carolina squad, and they do great things like beat the Packers and the Rams and some of the best teams in football, and then they do things like lose to the Saints twice and just frustrate you on any given day, too. I got to be honest with you guys, this game, more than maybe any other this season, I have no idea what to expect at this point with these two teams, man. It's been such an up and down year for both of them. The Bucs blowing that lead last Thursday is just devastating. And then right when you think it's devastating enough to really hurt their season, then Carolina loses to the Saints again. And with both of them, you don't know which team you're getting any given week. They could be playing the best teams in football and look great. They could be playing the worst teams in football and look awful. At this point, it's your guess is as good as mine with these two teams and this game. I'm honestly getting to the point where if I'm picking a winner of this game, I'm just going to flip a coin, man, because Baker Mayfield's been struggling. Bryce Young runs hot and cold. The two defenses, you don't know what you're getting any given week. It really is. These are maybe the 2 most confounding teams in the league, and they play in the same division. They're fighting for a division title somehow.
So basically what you're saying is football is a box of chocolates and you just get whatever you pick, right? In the
NFC South, absolutely. in that division, absolutely just take your best guess this season, because I all the analysis I have, I try my best to find something logical to talk about with this division, and none of it works. It all just gets turned upside down every week.
Well, come on, Forrest Gump. Do better with that line. A box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get. Come on, let's work that in there. Come on with some movie action. There are 2 quickies I want to get to. The story of last week, Phillip Rivers, 44-year-old ancient Tales from the Crypts bum, was out there for the Colts, and he nearly upset the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle, but the numbers won't wow you for what he did, and the Colts confirmed already Phillip Rivers are getting the start on Monday Night Football against the 49ers. So what did you see from Phillip Rivers? What do you expect to see? It sounds like they're riding this Rivers train the rest of the way.
He managed the offense well, and mentally, he's one of the best to ever do it. He's 44 years old, and he's obviously stayed sharp coaching high school ball and running the same offense down there in Alabama. But the big thing to me with the Colts is, I guess the lack of sentimental in this is going to be kind of jarring, but I don't really care who their quarterback is if they can't run the football, right? And they are 1-6 in games where they haven't run for at least 100 yards. Jonathan Taylor's been ice cold for the most part lately. They have to figure out how to run the football. That's the base. That's the heart and soul of their offense, is getting behind this offensive line and running the ball for 150 plus. If they don't do that, they have a real problem, because Rivers is not going to sling it downfield. He's 44. The arm strength is just not there to do that. He's going to manage the easy things within the offense and get them in the right play. But Jonathan Taylor has to be the superstar of this offense if they're going to try to make the playoffs with Rivers at quarterback.
And the last quickie here is Sunday Night Football, Baltimore Ravens, New England Patriots. I barely remember, which is disgusting to say out loud, what the Patriots even losing looks like. It's been like 2 or 3 months since we've seen it. How are they going to bounce back after that deflating loss to Buffalo in their own building? And then for Baltimore side, they need to do everything and more to make up ground with Pittsburgh in the AFC North. What are we expecting here on Sunday Night Football?
A very high level of urgency, and you want to see how New England bounces back, right? They hadn't lost a game since week 3, which it just sounds ridiculous, but that was the case, and their offense still looked very good, and they just ran into a supernova in Josh Allen, man. I mean, you have to score as many points as possible on him, and they just didn't get it done in the second half, but it doesn't get any easier, right? You got a desperate Ravens team that played a very good game here in Cincinnati last week, shutting out the Bengals. The defense has been better in recent weeks, and Lamar Jackson is still Lamar Jackson, right? He hasn't looked his best basically all year, but any given scenario, he's going to go down with the ship, man, and he's going to battle you to the very end. So I think you're going to get a good football game, I should say, between two teams with a very high level of urgency, because New England, look, they still want to win that division. They don't want to fall apart now and get a wild card berth and have this season feeling kind of sour at the end of it. They want to win this division. They want an AFC East title, and the Ravens, like you mentioned, are desperate for every win they can get.
All right, Dalton Wasserman, man, it just gets more and more exciting as we get closer to the end of the season. A lot of people in the fantasy battle right now as well. It's the semifinals for most fantasy leagues, as it is for our 4 leagues here associated with the show. Thanks always for breaking it down, my friend, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys as always.
All right, there he is for PFF. Dalton Wasserman giving us some love there. Boy Green throwing back up on the screen. We're 5 subscribers away, just 5 little eensy-weensy subscribers away from giving away this very cool Hanson Brothers photo, autographed by all 3 Hanson brothers. Put it in a frame. A very cool movie memorabilia right here. Like I said, the connection to Central New York and how I got this photo is parts of this movie were filmed at the War Memorial in good old downtown Syracuse, which still stands today. And so the Hanson brothers have always had a nice warm heart for the War Memorial, and the movie is slapstick and very cool. All 3 autographs on there with their numbers. Good picture of them. It's black and white, pretty old school looking, very cool. So that goes out the door once we get 5 more subscribers, and Boy Green's giving away that Jets program when we get about another 25 from there when we get to 450. So we're marching our way towards 500 subscribers. We're in the Christmas spirit. So heck, we're giving stuff away at every little landmark just to get people even more inspired to want to become part of our growing community. Go ahead, BG.
Yeah. And again, I just want to try to explain this because we have a couple hundred people in the room right now. This YouTube channel, again, you may be enjoying this show right now in a lot of different forms. We stream live on Twitter, stream live on my YouTube at BoyGreen25 and at MC Show Digital. So if you guys are watching on one of the other portals, it's worth it to take a second right now and jump on over to that YouTube link on your screen. That's youtube.com/@ MC Show Digital, or simply, if you're on YouTube, just search for the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital, and it'll pop up that way. Right now, at this moment in time, we're at 420 subscribers. At 425, once we reach that, 5 more people, we're going to give away that autograph slap shot. Here, when we get to the next 450, which again is 30 subscribers away, we're going to give this away, this 1972 official New York Jets yearbook cover with Namath and Riggins on the cover. And we've got more giveaways to come for free.
Yeah,
all you have to do is subscribe. Yeah, there you go. It's been a while since we've seen this one.
I haven't shown it in a while. It's collecting dust in my corner. It's a Highbore XL Cleveland driver. We wanted to do this for a major landmark, so we've made that landmark. 500 subscribers, still wrapped up in the paper. So I don't know, maybe we could get there before Christmas, but if it doesn't go out as a Christmas gift, certainly people that in the Northeast that play golf in the spring, you should have it in time for springtime. A brand new golf driver courtesy of our friends at Play It Again Sports, who by the way are today's sponsor. So thank our friends at Play It Again Sports right here in Syracuse for donating this wonderful golf club.
Real quick, while we're doing shout outs, I'll give another shout out. DNY for Life gifted 5 Boy Green Coffee Club memberships, which we really appreciate. Thank you, Devin, which again, I see that the 5 new members, shout out to Devin, to the Boy Green Coffee Club, are John Wu, Jay Lepsetter, Game Master, Vic Cortez, and Daniel Lanez. You guys are all now members of Boy Green Coffee Club, and we're looking forward to having that available on the MC Show digital channel, which more on that to come. So DNY for Life, thank you. That's 5 raffle tickets to our Boy Green raffle we're doing. But that's the thing on mine. I'm charging you guys money because I'm a greedy bastard around this time of year. I'm Scrooge. Over here, it's free. No money required whatsoever. So I don't know what you guys are doing. I don't know what kind of operation is happening over here where we can afford all these free giveaways, but that's neither here nor there. Take advantage of it before we change our mind. Yes.
Yeah, I did some cleaning in the office, and you saw me go off camera there in the middle of the Dalton interview for a little bit because I've been, it's Christmas time, and sure. I'm done with my semester, so I have a little more free time, dare I say, to get things done. And you know how when you have a desk, and I mean this desk that I operate here for our home studio, that this bedroom that I've built into a studio now. My wife is in love with me about that. I have a really large desk in here, and so I do my grading in here and all of my schoolwork. Sure. And, I've got some mechanisms here, but the desk, papers kind of get piled up on the one side of the desk, all right, I can't get to this right now. And so the other day I just was like, all right, that's it. Papers are going away. Everything's getting filed. There's lots of things that just need to be thrown out that I just didn't even get a chance to get a look at. Let me get a look at it, rip it up, throw it away. And so I was doing that the other day. And I put away all the memorabilia. So I showed all that, a bunch of those things, and I put them all. I found a nice box. I put some things in cardboard to make sure they're protected, like these pictures. All right. And put them all away, and then put them in my closet under some things. And I was like, oh, if I want to get that picture out, I put it away the other day. Oh my God, it's like buried. So I had to dig it out. I don't know if you heard me rummaging during the video. I was like, what the hell? So crazy. I shouldn't have done that, I guess. I should have kept a little box out for some of these giveaways. Come on, we got to give some of that stuff away. Let's get it out the door, baby. Get it out of my closet. So that'll be fantastic. So again, only 5 subscribers away from the Hanson Brothers autograph photo. Very cool photo that I acquired many, many years ago, and a great, cool little collector's item that you could put on your wall and show some people and tell the story of the old Hanson brothers and the movie Slapshot. Very, very cool. So it looks like, again, BG, coming off that Dalton discussion, a lot of really good football games again this weekend. We had a really, really good slate last weekend, and some of those games did live up. Not all of them lived up to what we had hoped, but certainly that Bills game lived up. I mean, the New England Buffalo game, which we highlighted, really, really lived up to its billing. I suppose in a weird way, the Chargers Kansas City game kind of lived up. It was a 16-13 game, and I know you don't want to see a player go down, but just seeing kind of the end of this quasi era of what it appears like, the domination of the Chiefs and their dynasty, to see that go. Denver Green Bay was a relatively exciting game out there in Denver. We highlighted that game as well. Certainly Detroit and the Rams. I mean, the Rams, it ended up being a touchdown. 41-34. So again, another
Detroit
game
came back at the end to make it a little bit closer.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit more of a backdoor. So we saw some really good football out of some of those games. And again, the games that we touched with, with Dalton, Green Bay, Chicago, it's going to kill me. I told you I'm in the city on Saturday. So I'll be down in New York on Friday, and I will be in the city for that Jerry Seinfeld show, and I'm going to do a whole day in the city. So I am not going to see a lick of Green Bay, Chicago, and that's going to be tough. And I'm not going to be one of those guys. I'm with my wife and my kid, and we're supposed to be seeing the sights in New York, and I got my phone out, and I'm going to, what's going on?
You're a better man than me. I'd have that.
I won't do that. I can. That's why I have NFL Network. I can go back and watch the condensed version and see that whole thing. So I'll catch up on that later, but I won't get to see it live. But I'm bummed that I won't get to see that live, because I just think that's just one of those great division rivalries, and who knows what the weather's going to be like in Chicago this weekend. And I love the idea of that game, and I love when we get this sprinkling of Saturday football. We love our Sundays, but to get a couple of quality games on a Saturday, to me, that's awful cool. So I won't get a peek at that, unfortunately, But there are other good games to be had, as we mentioned. Tampa Bay and Carolina is a very interesting game. Denver and Jacksonville, I'm highly, highly intrigued by. That'll be in the late window on Sunday. You mentioned that Baltimore, New England game as well. Detroit, Pittsburgh, also going to be in the late window. So I just think there's some really interesting games on the slate, just like there were last weekend. I think we'll have some really good football to watch.
I think so for sure. Again, it all starts off on Thursday night. The Rams-Seattle rematch we're all drooling over. What a great Thursday night game. And again, sometimes NFL schedule makers get lucky in good and bad ways, right? They schedule a great game, and then we get to this point in the season, devastating injuries hurt it. You're like, that sucks. But they're making these educated guesses ahead of time. This is one chef's kiss that's going to be spectacular and have number one seed ramifications, and all the like of the first game was really back and forth and talented. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. The Ravens Patriots on Sunday Night Football. Old Man Rivers now just randomly being on a Monday night primetime game here in 2025. That's bizarre. So yeah, there's a ton of great games on the slate, so I can't wait. And that feeds us all into fantasy football alert. So two things here. I see Jamie the FedEx guy. We got Jamie the FedEx guy, although I like the new nickname, Sour Grapes. Let's get to him here. It's going to be Big Al versus Jabber in the fantasy championship, which would mean me and you would be set eliminated in this
and we are
playoff
playing
round
the opponents. Yeah, I was just going to say this, BG. I'll let you get to your point here in a second. What I was going to say is, why would you, if you're Jamie now, I'm gonna attack Jamie here a little bit, and rightly so, I think. Jamie's been a longtime member of our league. I remember a few years back, Jamie ended up in the bottom three, a place that many people have been, and it's not an enjoyable place to be because it means you're going bye-bye, and we won't see you at the live draft next year, and we won't, you're going to have to fight your way back and finish in the top three, or you could end up down 2 leagues. I mean, we have guys that have dropped all the way to the 4th league, for crying out loud, over the years of playing in our league. So it is more than possible. Sometimes it's almost easier to fall than to climb in a lot of ways. So a couple of years back, Jamie was in the bottom 3, and we had a little situation where someone else couldn't be there, and we decided
to pick who gets saved.
Somebody to take this spot. And Jamie, while he was rightfully, eliminated, we decided to do what we call a save. It's kind of like on The Voice when they hit that button. I'm going to do the save, right? We did the save, right? We turned around in our big chairs and hit the save button, and we let Jamie back in. So Jamie, who was once saved, is now going to elect this year, upon his own exit from the playoffs, last week, to pick on the 2 guys that decide the saves. I just warn you, when you do that, when you throw shade, as you have just done here on the screen, Jamie O'Hara, all right, understand that the mentality of the 2 people who ultimately will make the decision sometime down the road whether or not you stay or go, you've just insulted. It's just not a smart thing to do. All right, go ahead, Boy Green. You finish your point.
Yeah, no, and it is a little bit of that. And also, again, I was the one that eliminated Jamie. So, call me the champ, baby, with a capital C for taking out Jamie. We should give an award for such things, but that's neither
so
here
he can have some sour grapes with you since you just eliminated him. But what's his bicker with me? What have I done? I've just finished in first place in the league, been solid all year long, earned the number 1 seed. Like, what's his beef with me? Come on. What's the beef?
Also, here's what I want to know. So let's put Jamie aside for a second. I'll go back to my original question in a minute. So Big Al is here in the chat. What I want to know is what games is Big Al playing? What games is he playing with this lineup? Because I went to go look at the matchup, because one of the questions I was going to ask you, Lurch, is you're on the other side of the bracket. We're down to the final 4. There's a matchup here. There's a matchup here. The winner of said 2 matchups will play for the fantasy championship with all the marbles on the line. And what I was going to do, my question was, well, Lurch, you're unbiased. You could look at my matchup with Al and tell me straight up who you think's going to win. And I could bring up your matchup with Jabber and give you my unbiased take of just looking at it, what I think is going to happen. Of course, what we think is going to happen doesn't mean it's going to happen. And I was going to do that. But the reason why I haven't done it so far is Big Al is doing all kinds of weird stuff with his lineup, because I saw in the projections he was supposed to beat me relatively good. It doesn't always mean anything. He's supposed to beat me by like 15 points. But I went to the projections.
I'm looking like I'm going to get murdered in the Triple C. I've been in first place in that league almost all year, and like I'm projected 20 points under the guy. I looked at my lineup the other day. I was like, I don't think these projections are all that good. I think I'm going to win. So we'll see if my guys play up to their potential as they have been all year. I probably will win, but I'm projected 20 below, which is a pretty strong projection against. So I don't believe the projections at all. But go on.
Well, so the thing I was going to say is, so I went to the projection. It says I'm supposed to now beat Big Al by 45 points. I'm like, what the hell happened? So I go to the lineup and I see that, okay, he picked up a defense off waiver, so he hasn't been able to put that in yet. But that's only a 7-point difference. Yeah, sure. I would still win by like 30 plus based on the projections. Yeah. He put Puka Nacua on the bench. He put some of his
He's
other
just
guys.
toying with you. He's
He's
toying
doing
with
some
you.
weird mind games there. I see this like a
Yes.
question mark, like, what am I
Mind
talking about? You know what I'm
games.
talking about.
Yeah.
Look at this bench. This bench
Al,
has
I like this. I like this mind games thing.
he has Jaylen Waddle on the bench. He has Puka Nacua on the bench. He has Javonte Williams on the bench. And again, it's not as if he's putting superstars in his lineup. Devon Vele of the Saints. He's putting Alec Pearson. He's putting some weird guys in like he's trying to mess with my mind. And you know what, Big Al? I'm not going to play your games, man. So I can't even ask the question, honestly, because like if Lurch saw the numbers, he would probably just say me based on what it says right now. But what it says right now is not what it's going to be. So I see what you're doing. Okay, I see what you're doing. Whatever this emoji is, where you're hiding behind or mind blown or anything, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing.
You know what, Al? It's working already. You got him talking about it on the podcast, so there's no question it's working. He's watching your lineup every day. This is what he does. See, this is why you can mess with someone like Boy Green. Like me, I'm just like aloof. I'm over here just doing my stuff, and I'll get to it later. He's like, oh, what's happening? You know, he's left, right, checking it.
And here's the thing, right? So Al's trying to figure out what I'm doing. He's like, what's up with you and your 4 defenses on your team? No faith in your team. You need to hoard defenses.
You have 4 defenses. That's pathetic.
You want to know something?
What are you
playing
doing?
Mind games? I could block you guys from getting really good defenses. And guess what? They're players on the bench. Like, I can't play them. My lineup is my lineup. So, like, if I can utilize spots on my bench to block other people from great defenses, I sure as hell will. I'll do whatever it takes, baby. That's for damn for sure.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yes, I do have 4 defenses.
I had a guy, whoever I faced, I think it was the Chumps League.
Okay.
The guy that I faced, this was an interesting, I don't know if I want to call it a mind game. Maybe it's just what he does. I thought it was interesting, actually. It didn't bother me in any way, but I was just like, this is interesting. He took his entire lineup and put it on the bench.
Oh, I know. I already know if you don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
And then he waited until, an hour or two before kickoff, and then he loaded his lineup into the lineup he was going to play. It was almost like, I don't want you to see what my lineup is. Okay, now I'll load it. Or is it just someone that just likes that idea? If it's the playoffs, it's like starting the season all over again. I'm going to bring everybody to the bench because we all know usually when you draft, everybody lands on the bench and you got to remember, okay, put all your players in, decide who your starters are because it doesn't automatically happen. The commissioners don't do that. They just load it into the system. And when it's loaded, it just loads into your bench. And now you load your lineup. That's how you start every football season in fantasy. So maybe this person was just doing it all like it's the playoffs. I'm starting all over again, but it's kind of a cool tactic. I was like, that's very interesting.
Well, I will say this. And by the way, we're now down to 4 subscribers. Shout out to Ol Yank, who just got us down to 4 subscribers. He's been a commenter on our channel. So
awesome.
Let's update the banner, baby. We can see if we can make this happen during our show. Folks, we are 4 subscribers away from our next free giveaway. We'll give it to one of lucky first 425 subscribers. So thank you, Ol Yank. Appreciate that. I'll continue to keep an eye on
this Hanson Brothers picture.
Okay. Go ahead.
It says at the bottom, Universal Studios Inc. So this picture actually came from Universal. Now, it's autographed by them because I was there when they autographed it. But we actually got the picture from Universal. Huh?
We got that. Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Many years ago. No recollection at all.
Yeah, well, I saw, so Yahoo, we're going to vote on a lot of league changes during the offseason. But Yahoo, on their official social medias, right, they have these massive social media followings, Yahoo Sports or Yahoo Fantasy Football. And they told a little trick for anyone that has a bye week in fantasy football to do this. Lurch, if you just had a bye in our Champs League, so you could have done this. If you put your entire starting lineup on the bench, you can take advantage of the loophole in their rules. And it would have actually helped you slightly because of the Patrick Mahomes injury. So normally you would never think that you would
drop them right away and not have to wait. Oh,
correct.
Yeah. That's
so
smart.
What Yahoo announced to the world is saying, hey, anyone who has a bye, take advantage of this. Put your entire starting lineup on the bench. And if anything happens during the games, which is crazy, an injury, for instance, they will let you drop someone from your bench. But if you put everyone on the bench, you can drop anyone you want. If they're in your starting lineup and they started, you can't drop them because they're in your starting lineup. But if you're on a bye, it doesn't matter what your starting lineup is because you're not playing anybody. So they gave this little hint away. So that's what I would have said. But to your point, this person was actually playing you, so it's some sort of weird mind game, so you weren't aware of the projections, I guess, for whatever they were going to do. And that's a dangerous game, because what if your phone dies or something, you can't change the lineup, and all of a sudden you get a fat 0 or something? That would be an epic disaster. So, I don't know what that's all about.
Hey, here's a question for those that are watching right now. Okay, I know a lot of you that are in the room right now play fantasy football, a very active fantasy football player. So usually we bring Joe Bartle in here on Fridays. Say, Joe, who do I start? This guy or this guy? Or sometimes we're asking Dalton Wasserman sometimes as our NFL insider. Hey, I know you're not a fantasy expert, but we know you know the league. Who you starting? This guy or this guy? We've had that come up. So let me reverse it here, BG. And I'll throw this one out because I'm a little bit on the fence. I am in the boat that a lot of people are in, which is Patrick Mahomes was my starting quarterback all year. He served me very, very well. I finished in first place overall in our Champs League, but now I'm in the playoffs. The reset button's been hit. Nothing matters now. It's just who wins this week. Got a very tough matchup against the defending champ. He's got a solid roster. I have several guys injured on my roster, including losing Mahomes for the season. So I, of course, smartly, and I think smart owners do this, especially when you get down the stretch of the season, especially if you know you're going to be heading into the playoffs. You don't just wait until somebody gets hurt before you get a backup. You try to load your bench with people that just in case I lose a guy at this position, I got a guy here. And so a number of weeks ago, someone dropped Caleb Williams, pretty good quarterback, very up and down, hot and cold kind of guy, but certainly a guy that's capable of putting up 30 points in a week. He's done that already this season. He's also capable of putting up 10 points or less in a week. He's shown he's capable of that as well. So I picked up Caleb Williams, and right now he sits in my starting lineup, but there's no reason, again, I mean, Caleb could go down this week. I still theoretically, if I win, have another week to play, so I'm not going to go into that week without a quarterback. So I went out on the waiver wire this week, and I said, okay, let me look at who's on the waiver wire and go pick up another quarterback as insurance. And so I was looking at a few guys. Kirk Cousins was on my radar because of how well he played last time out. And suddenly that looks a little bit sharper than it has in a while. J.J. McCarthy, if you go look at the numbers, McCarthy has been really good the last couple of weeks, and he gets the Giants this week. That defense has not been stopping anybody. So my thoughts were, all right, who am I going to get? I went out on the waiver wire, picked up J.J. McCarthy. So my reverse question to our audience is, give me your thoughts in the comments. Who do you start? J.J. McCarthy against the Giants or Caleb Williams against the Green Bay Packers in a big game on Saturday? Who would you start if you were the man-child and you were manning my team? This is going to be a difference-making decision here, folks. So please put some thought into this and give me some real reasons why you think, or some real conviction in terms of why you think to go one way or the other. Caleb Williams, again, against the Green Bay Packers, or the lesser defense, the Giants. We're rooting for to lose again against the Minnesota Vikings. And JJ, go look at the numbers last couple of weeks. He's been among, the top 7 or 8 quarterbacks in the NFL in fantasy. So I would take that for sure and let the rest of my team decide it. So which way should I go? Should I go Caleb or should I go JJ? Okay.
Which, by the way, so we're going to put this up on the screen. So this is the lineup, and this is 50-50 between Manchild and Jabber. Jabber's our defending champion in our fantasy football league, and Manchild is trying to, beat him because whoever wins this game goes to our fantasy championship game. And here's the lineup between them. The odds makers say it's even Steven. It's 135 points to 135 points of the projection points. And as I look at this here between these two lineups, I make this. Your guys' running backs are a couple of heavyweights going at each other. Jahmyr Gibbs and Bucky Irving are both phenomenal. And you have Bijan Robinson, Josh Jacobs, both phenomenal. So, it's a really even Steven. It's terrific. I might give a slight edge to you, but it's even Steven. The running backs are spectacular. I love that matchup. Obviously, you are at a slight quarterback deficit. Lamar's been very up and down, but you're at a slight deficit because, Lamar is perceived to be one of these really good ones, and you unfortunately had to sort of fall back on old Caleb here. I love your wide receivers. His are super swing and miss. J-Mo has had hot and cold weeks. DJ Moore's had really cold weeks, but he's had some hot explosions too. And Zay obviously is connected to Lamar Jackson at Ravens offense. You have JSN, who's a superstar. I love JSN. Xavier Worthy has been hit and miss with some of his performances over the last couple weeks. And now with no Mahomes, obviously that's a devastating.
Much more complicated, yes.
Right. Luther Burden III. It's funny we have this Bears matchup. Who gets the targets in that game between, DJ Moore and that. So that's
I have a Dunze was my starter, but right now he's sitting on my bench and likely not going to play this. I don't know if he's going to play this week. From the comments that were made by Ben Johnson this week, it sounds like they might want to sit him for a couple and get him ready for the playoffs, which is probably smart by them. Not good for us fantasy people. So it looks like I won't have Rome Odunze. So a couple of weeks ago, I picked up Luther Burden just because, backup, you got to have some backup here. So not an ideal position there, but, maybe I could get lucky there, but that's certainly nothing, no sure thing.
And here's the thing that sucks for you. Tyler Warren was such a superstar ad for you. He was great, but man,
Fantastic.
he has had some really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 over the last 7 weeks. 2 of the 7 weeks were double-digit points. 5 of the 7 were single-digit point weeks. That is brutal, but there's nothing you can do. You're married to Tyler Warren. You just got to hope that Phillip Rivers throws him a couple of balls. And you talked about this last week with this another guy. So I had J.J. McCarthy on my roster for a lot of the year, and I had Harold Fenton Jr. on my roster throughout the year. I dumped both of them, obviously, at varying points. Harold Fenton Jr. has been a nice little PPR monster. He's had some very nice weeks. The last 3 weeks, 11, 25, and 12. So that's a nice little flex play there. Very creative there in the flex for you. And I see that screw Joe Bartle, you still have that Broncos defense I traded you in the lineup. You're welcome.
Yep. Still riding with the Broncos. Still got to ride with them. Tried and true. It's always good to have tried and true in the playoffs so you don't have a disaster with your defense. I don't think Denver ever can be a disaster, and they certainly could be a windfall if they get a pick. Always defenses when you get a big score, it's a matter of does the team get more turnovers and did they get a pick six or a strip sack that runs in for a touchdown, So, that's what you're hoping for big points. Otherwise, you want solid points, and you can't go wrong with someone like he's got Philly, too. So Philly's rock solid. Denver's rock solid. That should be a wash in terms of the defenses, unless one of them has that big day where they get the big turnovers.
And you have the Aubrey advantage with the kicker.
And I always love having that extra little oomph with the kicker. But it's tight. This is going to be a good matchup. I mean, I don't know.
Do you have a gut right now?
I'm feeling great. Not feeling great.
You're not feeling great.
My gut is not feeling great. My gut is I'm going to lose, but I hate to I don't want to put myself in a negative headspace. But, it's everything that's happened to my team in the last few weeks at the most critical time of the season now. Things are not going my way. Losing Patrick, Odunze going cold, Worthy going cold. Now he's lost his quarterback. Warren going cold. Now he's lost his quarterback. It's like everything's working against me. I'm so glad at least I made that trade for JSN because JSN is a transcendent player who can save you in any given week. You saw it last week. You weren't expecting it, but you got 45 points from Kyle Pitts, okay? When you have a player that can put up those kind of points, and they do, all right, it could change your whole week. You could just win on that guy's back, just get on his back and climb on his back. And so JSN is one of those kinds of players. Bijan Robinson is one of those kinds of players. He has Jahmyr Gibbs on his roster. He's one of those kinds of players. So when you have those players that can just go absolute bonkers in a given week, that's a powerful tool to have. Now, whether it happens or not, that's the question. If they just have an ordinary week, then you're like, where am I getting these points from? Is Luther Burden going to come through with a score for me, down at the goal line or something? So that's the problem is I'm in a position right now, and this is why I don't love my position. I'm in a position right now where I need my big guys to hit it, and they got to come this week. Like I need at least 2 of my guys to really hit it big this week, and then I should be fine. If that doesn't happen, it's up, and if it goes the other way, if his 2 guys big hit it big, I'm done for, So it's one or the other probably.
And it's pretty crazy because Jabber really looked like he was going to miss the playoffs. And the fact that he barely makes it, he has as many wins as he has losses. He was 7-7 this season. And again, not every season is created equally. And now all of a sudden he has a chance to win the whole gosh darn thing again and back to back. So crazy.
Well, he won I tell you, he was in a Titanic battle last week. It was a pretty high scoring battle, and he figured it out. Barely edged him out. So in some weird way, I think that's good for me because, it's hard to have big back-to-back weeks. And I didn't have to roster a team last week, but if my team had been rostered last week, I wouldn't have scored a lot of points. So maybe, this is the week. I'm really hoping that game on Thursday night, that's a big game for me with JSN going in that game.
Sure.
I just hoping that game hits. I'm hoping that thing's a shootout, a barn burner. JSN is just, getting left, right, and center, man. They are finding him all over the field. If Sam Darnold wants to prove himself, this game is a massive, massive proving ground for him. I talked about it weeks ago when he lost that game earlier in the season and didn't show up. I was like, well, he's got one more chance here. Okay, is he going to do it or not? So I am in Sam We Trust here on Thursday Night Football, my friend.
And Lurch, let me ask you this. Are you happy that you've got one last say, and that is Tyler Warren Monday Night Football? So no matter what happens over the weekend, you'll have one last Hail Mary. If you're in a position where you've won already, you're like, whatever, this is a cherry on top. Or regardless of the point, if it's 5 points, 10 points, 20 points, Tyler Warren has had big weeks before, and that you'll have a last-second opportunity.
And look, Phillip Rivers, at least through one game, we'll see what he does here now in game 2, but he was dinking and dunking. And I know Warren didn't do much last week, but that is something that could work really well for Tyler Warren. Tight end is the safe outlet. Warren is really good at breaking tackles. Of course, if you're in the red zone and you're not running the ball, Tyler Warren's a big target down there. So definitely Warren is capable, even though he's been cold. He's been on ice lately. He's very capable of giving me that big performance on Monday night. If I were down, say, 15 points and I needed him, I could see him going out there and delivering a 25-point game for me. It wouldn't be such a stretch to believe in that. So, yeah, it'll be nice if I get to that place, PG. But frankly, I'd rather be way ahead before Monday night and just watch Tyler Warren go out there and do whatever the heck he wants and get ready for the championship game. But we'll see. I don't know if it's going to be all that easy.
Yeah, because that's what it felt like for me when I was smacking around Jamie. I'm glad Jamie's still in here. Is that so much was already decided. Like heading into Sunday Night Football, I had all these players playing, right? Like George Pickens, Dak, Justin Jefferson, and all these guys. But really, all they had to do was have all of them have mediocre nights, and I would have done enough because Jamie's team folded like a used lawn chair. So I was sort of like, hey, guys, don't rip it on. I was projected to score like 160 or something, and I ended up with 120. Doesn't matter to me. That was more than enough to win. So I wanted to make sure, hold the horses. Let's save them for next week. That's when we're going to need them. So beautiful.
More shade being thrown at you here in the Indian thing as we're talking a little fantasy football. Jamie saying, Boy Green, I gave you false hope. You're toast because, I know you didn't have a massive week, but you did what you needed to do, right? You got the win. All right. And then Big Al, who's also one of the 4 teams in our playoffs, taking on Boy Green. He says, sucks for Pitts with Drake London coming back this week. That probably does hurt the Kyle Pitts train a little bit, that Drake London is back in the fold. He certainly garners some targets. It seemed like certainly with London out, especially last week, it was like Pitts time. That was crazy. I mean, to get that kind of delivery out of Kyle Pitts, you had to be ecstatic coming out of that Thursday night.
Again, so he remains day to day. He is practicing today. That's an updated report.
So it's not sure yet. Okay.
No. He's missed the last several games of the PCL sprain. He will practice, a sign that he could play on Sunday. But here's the thing I would say. When a player, and this is just, obviously I'm biased because I have Kyle Pitts on my team, a guy that scores 45 fantasy points and translate that to whatever it was in real life points. If I'm the Falcons, I'm like, yeah, let me go away from that guy. Yeah, that guy's someone I should get. What? Of course. If I'm the we won the game and he put up monster points. I guess we'd probably try to feature that guy again. So Drake London, to me, actually opens things up. That's another guy the opponent has to worry about. And then Kyle Pitts can't be focused on. You got Bijan, Drake, Kyle Pitts. I'm good, man. I'm not expecting 45 points again from Drake. Or Kyle Pitts, rather. When Kyle Pitts did that, I said phenomenal, because that may never happen in a fantasy season. The fact that it happened, great. That's a jackpot. There was a random surprise I wasn't anticipating, and that helped me win last week. All right, someone else beat Kyle Pitts this week for my team. I don't need Pitts to do it again.
Yeah, I wasn't going to share this with you, but I will. I think
great.
All's fair in love and war, right? So,
all right, sure.
So obviously we compete in the same fantasy leagues, and in particular this Champs League, which is the big league. Yep. So Jamie, your opponent, and I don't think I'm breaking a trust. Jamie, I hope I'm not breaking a trust in doing this, but Jamie, your opponent, and I think I would do the same thing. So this is not just, something that Jamie would do, whatever. I'm sure you've probably even done it, but I definitely have done it. I've talked to Joe Bartle. I've talked to Brian Drake. I've talked to other league members over the years. Just like I just asked the audience, who should I play? Should I play?
Yeah.
Should I play? So,
great.
Jamie came to me Sunday morning, and he has 3 tight ends on his roster. All right. He has the Tampa Bay guy. What's his name again? Cade Otton. No, not Cade Otton. I'm sorry. No. Is it Tampa? Who's the guy he has? I'd have to just go to look at his roster.
Okay, but whoever it is, all right, whatever. Yeah.
So he has 3 tight ends. Dalton Schultz is one of them.
Yes.
The guy he did play. I got to look at his roster. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll pull it up here. I'll get it for you.
Is it right in front of you? All right, because I'll.
Yeah.
All right. So he's got 3 tight ends. Okay, so who has 3 tight ends?
Okay, his Sunday sprinters is Jamie's team. His 3 tight ends are Dalton Schultz, obviously, who we had, Bretton Strange, and Mark Andrews.
Strange. Who's Strange play for? Is he
Jaguars?
Jaguars. Okay, Jaguars. Okay. All right. So he's got Strange, Schultz, and who's the third guy?
Mark Andrews.
So he called me and just said, I got one spot for these 3 guys. What would you do? It's like, oh boy, man, I hate deciding other people in the playoffs. So I don't want you to hold me responsible, man. That sucks. All right. You decide, but I'll talk you through it, and I'll give you my thoughts on each guy and why I might go one way or the other. And this to me was not a clear choice at all. I don't know for you if it would be. Would it be a clear choice for you, those 3 guys?
To me, it would have been clear. I thought with Isaiah Likely playing the way he has, I wouldn't have, or just the threat of Isaiah Likely. I don't love that on Baltimore that two of them exist at tight end. That scares me. That would have been removed from the plan. Strange to me would have been a floor play. Schultz would have been a ceiling play. And to me, I'm in the playoffs. I'm swinging for the fences. I would have played Schultz personally, but yes, that's what I would have done.
Because the way I looked at it when I looked at it was I honestly thought that the other two guys, Schultz and Strange, were kind of decent floor plays. And I thought that, because I've had Schultz is on one of my other teams. He's on my chumps or my triple C team. So I've been playing him all year. So I know exactly what he's up to. I know what he's a good floor guy. He hasn't had a lot of really big weeks, but he's been a good solid floor guy. He's had some nice weeks along the way. I said, let's look at the last 5 weeks for each guy. Let's see what each guy. And so Jamie jumped in the app and he was reading me what happened the last 5 weeks with each of the guys. I said, all right, look, I hate Mark Andrews. I got to tell you this. I hate him, but he's capable. They're in desperation mode. Every once in a while, he has one of those big ceiling games. And I notice all this chatter likely this week. I don't buy it. They're either going to go to the tight end or they're not. And if they do, I think it's going to be him. And so would you want to shoot yourself in the foot if you didn't play Andrews, who, if you had looked at this earlier in the season or at the beginning of the season, you would have been Andrews all the way, right?
Sure,
you draft him higher than these guys, so on and so forth. Like, do you want to, he's already got Pitts with this 45-point thing. You're swinging for the fences. Like, if I'm swinging for the fences, I think I go Andrews here of the three guys. I don't like the play. I'll tell you right now, I don't like it. Okay. But you're kind of forced into swinging. And I think if you swing, you go for Andrews because I think the other guys will be fine, but they don't have the chance of being phenomenal. This one guy maybe has the chance of being phenomenal. Now, the way it goes down, of course, is Dalton Schultz ends up having a 20-something point week, 21 points. Pretty good week. I mean, not a blow your mind, but a good week for a tight end.
I mean, that's a really good week for a tight end.
Really good week. Really good week. We doped it out, and he did decide to go with Andrews. I think it ultimately took his own advice, but that was a tough one, man. I couldn't get on that. I couldn't quite work my way through that one. I don't know who I would have played.
Jamie says if he would have played Schultz, he still would have lost me by 0.34. So it just would have been more devastating.
That would have been brutal. I mean, that would have been brutal. So I almost think like that's not the worst thing in the world. Right. If he would have won by 0.34, I'd want to kill myself.
That's
just the fact that I got asked that question and I didn't give him I didn't go, no, play Schultz. It's wonderful when you're right like that.
Oh,
Joe Bartle must go through that every day of his life. Because he spends his life. I mean, he's on our show on Fridays for a half hour, but he spends his life studying this stuff during the off season, during the season. He's got like 20 fantasy teams himself. He competes in some big money leagues on top of everything. We just play for a name on the side of a trophy, and then people are constantly asking him. And what I like about Joe, and I think good fantasy experts are this, you just have to be sure of yourselves. I've looked at the numbers. I know what I've got. I've looked at the matchup. I know what it is. I'm going to give you the best advice that I can. On the numbers, on everything I see in front of me, this is the guy you play. And that's 100%. The way they handle it. And you know what? That's what we need. We don't need the wishy-washy guy like I was to Jamie. Like, oh, gosh, I don't know. I would maybe, but could have, maybe, sort of. You need the sure guy. You need the guy that goes, no, the play is, Strange. You play Strange. You play Schultz. So I wasn't that way at all. But Bartle has to be that way. And then he's wrong a lot. Like, come on. And those three guys, who knows? We don't know that Schultz was going to be the one. He was the one. Okay. Yeah. Some of us would have said yes. Some of us would have said no. All right. For those of us that would have said no, you'd been like, oh, it's obvious. Well, how did I miss that? No, it wasn't obvious. That was a real flip of a coin, three ways, a three-sided coin. You're trying to flip there and land on heads. So I just think that's tough, man, to be that guy who always gives out the advice in a very confident, sure way. And then that player, takes your advice, goes to the table, and then loses, and then the other guy that I was thinking about playing him, he scores 30 or something. And you're like, oh, and that happens to Joe every week. So I'm glad that I don't run into those predicaments all that much, or at least the predicaments that I run to, I only deal with my teams so that I can live with my own decisions, because I hate with someone else having to live with my decision. But I felt bad that I didn't dope that out better for Jamie. But again, he would have lost by 0.34. That would have been more heartbreaking. So I'm glad. I'm glad that it didn't cost him the win. But we do this right in fantasy, right?
Yes.
Do you consult with other guys in the league from time to time? I don't know if you.
I do not.
Walter?
As a matter of fact, I don't.
Just me and that's
because I don't shame people for doing it to get other opinions, but to me, I think that would complicate my waters. Because if I was tight on a decision, for instance, right, here's one. I have 4 defenses that I could play. And there could be a world where that decides who wins or loses my matchup. If one has like 4, one of them could pop, but which one is going to pop, I have no idea. If I'm on the fence, I'm like, boy, I could go with either of these 2, and then I call you up, you're like, that third one, I'm like, son of a, now my decision's even
Now
more
you got
murky.
more options, right?
So to be honest, what I try to do is have conviction. I do as much research as I can. I listen to podcasts. I'm a big Matthew Berry guy, so a lot of what he says, if it's a tie-breaking situation, what Matthew Berry says, and I just sort of trust him,
Really?
that could push me one way or the other. And he's a guy where I'm like, but sometimes I've gone against him, and it's worked out for me this year. So again, he's not. It's just not the Matthew Berry gospel is everything. I think the key, number one, the key for anything. I've said this advice all the time, and I've continued to say it. You must filter anything and everything you hear. Magazines, podcasts, advice from Lurch, advice from Jamie, advice from anybody. Filter it all. I will listen to it all, but whether or not I don't just because I heard it means I'm going to do it. I'm going to filter and say, you know what? That was a strong case. I'm going to do it. Or thanks for the advice, but there's no way I'm doing that. I'm doing what I want to do because at the end of the day, I have to live and die by my own sword.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes you're right. They could do that. Sometimes, though, another person affirming what I was thinking gets me to the decision easier, and then I feel good about it. And then regardless of the results,
Sure.
I feel better about it. So, but you're right. If the other person goes the opposite of what you're thinking, then it just lends to more speculation and more confusion, which is the worst. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm one of those ones I like to dope it out. Sometimes I'm better in a group situation. I'm better doping it out among a bunch of people and then coming to my own decision than I am just not consulting anybody and just going out, just live with my convictions and that's it. So sometimes the opinions work for me. I can't say it isn't. I have no idea what the percentages are, the times that I listened and the times that I said, no, I'm sticking with what I thought, even though the person on the other side is against it.
And by the way, I hope the football gods smite Big Al, because we're about to play each other. And I noticed they picked up a defense. He picked up the Saints defense who plays the Jets this week.
Go for it, Al.
What
that's the ultimate
for is not only does he think that's a good fantasy matchup, and a lot of fantasy experts I'm sure would agree, anyone against the Jets, that's got to be good, right? And I imagine that's a hearty strategy. But he knows that I'm a Jets fan, so it could double get me that if they put up a good performance, good for him, and also, Boy Green's a Jets fan, you sucker.
All right, Al. I have advice. I have advice for you, my friend. Okay. And this is very, very strong, smart advice. So listen carefully, okay, to what I'm about to say. All right. So a few years ago, Boy Green and I played each other in the playoffs. Okay. I can't remember who my quarterback was, but it was like a Mahomes situation. My starter got blasted. Okay. Yeah. And now I got to play Boy Green. And the waiver wire was barren at this point, man. Everybody had scooped up everyone. People had 3 quarterbacks on their rosters. I was like, what the hell am I looking at here? Okay. And I had 2 choices, okay, of the pile of crap that was on the waiver wire. Okay. One was Joe Flacco, who at the time was playing for the Cleveland Browns. Okay. And the other choice was Zach Wilson, who was, of course, the quarterback of the New York Jets. Yeah. And so I was like, look, I could take Flacco here and, just stay away from this whole thing. But wouldn't it be awesome if I take Wilson, who's just had some terrible moments here, was not on the upswing Wilson. It was on the downswing Wilson. And I forget who the Jets matchup was, but it was a pretty favorable matchup. And I was like, I think I got to do this because if Wilson gets me over the hump and I beat him because I played Wilson, like think of the rub that I would have with him for years and years, that I'd have this over him, that I played his own guy against him, his own quarterback against him. I think your team might have even been named after Wilson that year. Or something. I remember, So that was the year of Wilson name for him. And just like he's Justin Fields this year, that hasn't worked out so well. Anyway, I was hedging. I talked to Joe Bartle. Bartle said, I'm leaning Flacco. I talked to Brian Drake. Yeah, I feel Flacco a little bit more there. I think it's a little safer play, So everyone's advising me Flacco. And I did go out and, dare I say, group it. All right. And then I came back to the table. I was like, screw it, man. It's Wilson. I'm going with Wilson. I'm not taking that old man. I'm going with the youngster. He can run a little bit. He'll give me. And he went out and had a dud. And if I had taken Flacco, I would have beaten Boy Green. Boy Green goes on to win the championship that year. That was like a first or second round matchup. He wins the championship, and it's all because I didn't play Flacco. I played Wilson. So, Al, I know you want to do it. My advice is don't do it just to skunk him. If you think it's the right play, then go do this Jets thing that you've got in your mind. Okay, play the Jets defense if you believe in it, if there's real
Saints
conviction.
Defense, right.
But don't play right. The Saints, I'm sorry. Don't do it just because you want to skunk him, because I tried to, and that didn't work out, and I don't want to see him go 2 for 2, Al. So don't do that unless you believe it. If you believe it, I didn't really believe in Zach Wilson, but my choice was Joe Flacco. And so I was just like, and so I was like, I'll just go with the kid, but because there's a little more juice here for me to get him. And
I'll never forget this. The Jets lose 30-0 in that game to the Dolphins. That's the game that you played Zach Wilson. He gets hurt, gets a concussion, and he finishes with 0.3 points at the quarterback position, which is the only reason I win and go on to win the championship.
Flacco got like 12 points. No big deal, but he got 12 points.
But enough of a difference that would have beaten me.
I would have won.
So, Al, play the Saints defense. Play them, baby. The football gods are on my side this year.
Yeah, be careful, Al. Be careful, man. I tried that strategy a few years ago. That's the rub that me and him have. If I have a chance once in a while to get something on him, I'm like, what comes around goes around. Like I love to try to at least, make things work from time to time in my behalf rather than the other way around. He's gotten me enough time. So, oh boy, that was a tough one. All right. So look, everybody gear up for your big fantasy playoffs. If you're still in, it's a great time of year for fantasy football. Stay on top of it. Don't give up. Keep poking at that waiver wire right up until Sunday before kickoffs. You never know what can happen. Guys can get hurt in practice. Crazy things can happen as well. We're also on a crusade. You see it right there on the screen. 4 subscribers away to get to 425 subscribers. When we get to 425, this Hanson Brothers autograph picture is going out the door. And you can get it framed and then put it in your room. It's a really cool piece of movie and sports memorabilia signed by all 3 Hanson Brothers, where they filmed part of that movie right here in good old Central New York at the War Memorial. So a very, very cool piece of memorabilia just out of my personal collection. I'm just giving stuff away because I want to build up our community faster. We've been here less than half a year. I know it is a big commitment to subscribe to things and to be getting notifications on your phone. I know so many of us get bugged by all the cling, 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 but hopefully we're doing enough to earn your trust and to earn your patronage here to check out our show, to hang with us. We're a lot of fun. There's a lot more fun to come. And once we can start really at a high level interacting with our fans, we're going to create a VIP club in the not too distant future. Then we'll really have some really cool stuff for people who want to be even higher involved. But right now we need you to spread the word because this YouTube world is massive. There are so many podcasts out there. There are so many people talking sports. And so we need for you to kind of give us a little boost, as they say, up the tree, right, to try and get us out there to more people so that we can grow this little community and be more meaningful in the YouTube world. So anything you do to help do that, we appreciate. And again, we're going to give away some free stuff. So we've got that Hanson Brothers pictures, as I just showed you. Boy Green's giving one away. 29 subscribers away from giving away this beautiful Jets program that was $1 back in the day, but is in perfect condition with John Riggins and Joe Namath on the cover. Very, very cool. And we'll continue. I told you we got that $400 golf club coming up at 500. So once you're in, by the way, you're in all of these. So once you're in, you don't have to do anything, and there's no cost. There's no charge. So please do it now if you can. All right. With that in mind, we've got still some stuff coming your week as we're getting closer and closer to the Christmas holiday. We've got our good buddy from Jets World, Jake Asman, joining us. We'll get that out to you a little bit later this afternoon. We already dropped Ed Valentine, our Giants insider. So if you have missed that and you're a Giants nut, get in there and watch us interacting with Ed. We did that interview yesterday. A lot of fun and a lot of talk on the Giants situation and what's going on with them. Should they tank for the number 1 pick? We talked a lot about that, about what the Giants could and couldn't do. We talked about Joe Shane and his precarious situation with the Giants. Is he going to be the GM when the season is over? They've already fired their coach. Are they going to stick with the GM and honestly let him hire the next coach, or are they going to clean house and start all over? So we talked about all of that with Ed. We've still got our football picks coming up later in the week. Joe Bartle will be back with us one last time. I think this is going to be our last visit with Joe Bartle this coming week. So we've got that coming your way as well. And Anthony Prohaska, our insider on all things Buffalo Bills. We always drop that on Thursday. So that's all coming your way. Folks, thanks so much again for tuning in today. Boy Green, final thoughts if you haven't.
Yes, and tonight is the Survivor finale for season 49. And folks, it's going to be a little bit complicated, so just stay tuned.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, because it's a 3-hour finale. It starts at 8, so it's supposed to end at 11. But our president, Donald Trump, is doing a speech, State of the Union
9.
of sorts, around 9. So the CBS television networks are going to pause the finale, allow that speech to happen, and then immediately go back to it. So we were going to come on at 11:15, but that would be in the middle of the finale. So now TBD. So, folks, I have no idea how long President Trump is set to speak.
I think you can expect us around midnight, or maybe a little after.
So either way, we will be with you live tonight for all of our Survivor fans out in the audience. We will be with you, but just sort of stay tuned. We will be live about 10 or 15 minutes after the finale is over, which includes the reunion show. So just stay tuned to the channel. We promise we're coming tonight. But just, again, I can't predict exactly what it's going to be because I don't think anyone knows exactly how long that slight detour is going to take. But the episode's supposed to pause when President Trump makes his State of the Union address, and then it should continue immediately after. So stay tuned for that tonight.
All right. Fair enough. All right. So Survivor live show after the finale, after the speech tonight. I'm thinking somewhere around the witching hour of midnight is when we're going to hit the airwaves, somewhere in that neighborhood. Usually this presidential speech about an hour, because they'll not only will he do the speech, it'll probably be a half hour, but then they'll do an analysis and all that kind of stuff and run a few commercials. And then finally they'll get back to Survivor. So it sounds like Survivor is going to bump out and then come back because this obviously is a planned event tonight that I think only came up earlier in the week. So just a couple of days ago that this was unearthed. Obviously, Survivor would not have scheduled its finale if they knew there was going to be a presidential speech in the middle of it. But it looks like they're going to hopefully hit the pause button. We'll hear the speech and then and unpause it. And then we'll see the rest of the show and the reunion. And then we'll be here, obviously, after the reunion show to break down who won the $1 million. Did anyone, did Boy Green or Brett win this year's Survivor situation there, our draft? The Manchild's already out. Steven did me in last week. Although I've seen a lot of stuff online, Boy Green. A lot of people want Steven back.
Oh, okay. Maybe he's part of 50. I don't know.
Let's do a trick. Let's do a trick where Steven comes back onto the cast in the finale somehow, so some kind of gimmick or something. I saw some stuff out on the web this week on that. Anyway, but we'll see who wins this whole thing and who walks away with the $1 million prize. It's going to be tonight's Survivor episode. All right, folks, thanks again for watching. We'll see you a little later, Jake Asman, and we'll see you live on Friday. Take care. Peace out.